Belshazzar the sovereign made a great feast for 1,000 of his great men and drank wine in the presence of the 1,000. While tasting the wine, Belshazzar gave orders to bring the gold and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the Hekal, which had been in Jerusalem, that the sovereign and his great men, his wives and his concubines could drink from them. Then they brought the gold vessels that had been taken from the Hekal of the house of Elah, which had been in Jerusalem, and the sovereign and his great men, his wives and his concubines drank out of them. They drank wine and praised the Elohim of gold and of silver, of bronze, of iron, of wood, and of stone. At that moment the fingers of a man's hand appeared and wrote opposite the lampstand on the plaster of the wall of the sovereign's palace. And the sovereign saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the sovereign's colour changed, and his thoughts alarmed him, so that the joints of his hips were loosened, and his knees knocked against each other. The sovereign called loudly to bring in the astrologers, the Kasdim, and the diviners. The sovereign spoke and said to the wise ones of Babel, "Whoever reads this writing and shows me its interpretation is robed in purple and has a chain of gold around his neck, and shall be the third ruler in the reign." So all the sovereign's wise ones came, but they were unable to read the writing or to make known its interpretation to the sovereign. Then sovereign Belshazzar was greatly alarmed, and his colour changed, and his great men were puzzled. The sovereigness, because of the words of the sovereign, and his great men, came to the banquet hall. And the sovereigness spoke and said, "O sovereign, live forever. Do not let your thoughts alarm you, nor let your colour change. There is a man in your reign in whom is the spirit of the set-apart Elohim, and in the days of your father, light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the Elohim, were found in him. And sovereign Nebuchadnezzar your father the sovereign, made him chief of the magicians, astrologers, Kasdim, and diviners, because an excellent spirit, knowledge and understanding, interpreting dreams, and explaining riddles, and solving difficult problems were found in this Daniel, whom the sovereign named Belteshazzar. Now let Daniel be called, and let him show the interpretation." So Daniel was brought in before the sovereign. The sovereign spoke and said to Daniel, "Are you that Daniel who is one of the sons of the exile from Yehudah, whom my father the sovereign brought from Yehudah? I have heard of you, that the spirit of Elohim is in you, and that light and understanding and excellent wisdom are found in you. And the wise ones, the astrologers, have been brought in before me, that they should read this writing and make known to me its interpretation, but they were unable to show the interpretation of the word. And I myself have heard of you, that you are able to give interpretations and to solve difficult problems. Now, if you are able to read the writing and make known its interpretation to me, you are to be robed in purple and have a chain of gold around your neck, and shall be the third ruler in the reign." Then Daniel answered and said before the sovereign, "Let your gifts be for yourself, and give your rewards to another. Yet I shall read the writing to the sovereign. and make known the interpretation to him. O Sovereign, the Most High Elah gave Nebuchadnezzar your father a reign and greatness, and preciousness and esteem. And because of the greatness which he gave him, all peoples, nations, and languages trembled and feared before him. Whomever he wished he killed, and whomever he wished he kept alive, and whomever he wished he raised up, and whomever he wished he made low. But when his heart was lifted up, and his spirit was so strong as to act proudly, he was put down from his throne of reign, and they took his preciousness from him. Then he was driven from the sons of men, and his heart was made like the beasts, and his dwelling was with the wild donkeys. He was given grass to eat like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of the heavens, till he knew that the Most High Elah is ruler in the reign of men, and he sets up over it whomever he wishes. And you, his son, Belshazzar, have not humbled your heart, although you knew all this. And you have lifted yourself up against the Master of the heavens, and they brought before you the vessels of his house. And you and your great men, your wives and your concubines, have been drinking wine from them. And you have praised the Elohim of silver, and of gold, of bronze, of iron, of wood, and of stone, which neither see, nor hear, nor know. But the Elah, who holds your breath in his hand, and owns all your ways, you have not made great. Then the part of the hand was sent from him, and this writing was inscribed. And this is the writing that was inscribed: Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. This is the interpretation of each word. Mene, Elah has numbered your reign and put an end to it. Tekel, you have been weighed on the scales and found lacking. Peres, your reign has been divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Then Belshazzar gave orders, and they robed Daniel in purple and put a chain of gold around his neck. And they proclaimed concerning him that he is the third ruler in the reign. In that night, Belshazzar, sovereign of the Kasdim, was killed, and Dariawesh the Mede took over the reign, being about 62 years old.